This lesson is on rhythm guitar. There are a lot of different strumming patterns that you've probably already learned, whether it's involves an 8th note pattern or a 16th note pattern. 8th note pattern would be down, down, up, down, up, down, down, up, down, up. 16th note pattern would be so you're hitting the string 16 times in a measure instead of 8. This exercise focuses on another technique you can do, and I call it the low-high technique. If you've ever seen a video by Green Day of Good Riddance, Time of Your Life, if you watch Billy play, it looks like he's strumming, and he is strumming, but he's only picking certain strings at a certain time. He's not hitting all the strings simultaneously. He's doing like something like that. But the idea is that he's not hitting all the strings at the same time. So there's a few exercises I'm going to show you to work on this technique. And the first one is where you're going to strum down on the top 3 strings, which are your low sounding strings. Then you're going to strum down on some of the high sounding strings on the bottom. So you're dividing the strings kind of in half. So you're going low, high, low, high. It's not really too much unlike when you do an alternating bass pattern where you hit a low note and then strum, and then hit a different low note and then strum. So it's a similar technique. One of the tricks to this is getting used to using a wrist movement rather than an elbow movement. The elbow movement is used when you want to hit most or all of the string. When you want to focus on just a couple or a few strings, you want to use a wrist movement. So my elbow is barely moving at all, and it's more a wrist movement. It's almost the movement you would use if you were washing your car or dusting off a table, something like that. You're going to strum down on the top strings and then down on the bottom string. Try just to use your wrist. Then there are different patterns you can come up with that. One of them is I'm going to strum once down on the low strings, and then on the high strings I'm going to strum down and up. Another pattern you can do is to do 2 lows and a high. Then you can do low, low, high, high. And notice on the highs I'm doing an up strum. Another technique you can do is some muting. So you can go down and then up. I'm going to do a down and then a down up. And then I'm touching the strings to mute the strings to make the sound stop. That's used a lot in reggae music. Reggae music is real short staccato like. suggest just working on different combinations of the low and the high sounds, and just getting used to that wrist movement. Try to do it without looking. It really doesn't matter too much how many strings you hit, as long as you get that sound effect of a lower sound and then a higher sound. Another way to think of it is, think of it as if you're playing bongos and you're going back and forth between two drums. And there's a lot of different combinations you can come up with as far as how many times you hit each drum, how fast it is. In other words, if I went boom, bop, bop, boom, bop, boom, bop, bop, boom, bop. Or if I went boom, boom, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop, boom, boom, bop, bop. Boom, boom, bop, boom, boom, bop. It's a matter of using your imagination and saying, okay, how many different rhythms can I come up with? Or if you listen to a song, you might be able to hear that that's what the guitar is doing. It'll probably be easier to hear if it's just one person playing an acoustic guitar, so you don't have all the other instruments going on at the same time. Experiment with that and see what you can come up with, but just take it slow. It's going to take time to build up your speed. Just doing down, down, up, up. I mean low, low, high, high. Then you can add some techniques with your fretting hand where you can do hammers and pulls. When you come to a chord like D or F, you're only using a few strings, so it's a little bit harder to get that effect. You might have to just isolate the fourth string on both of those chords. But most of the other chords you'll have 5 or 6 strings to work with. Alright, so that's your assignment for this week. Work on that, and we'll check with you next time. Thanks for listening.